So here we are in our final week of the Elul boot camp, which makes sense because Elul is coming to an end, which also makes sense because Rosh Hashanah is coming to a beginning. Rosh Hashanah begins Monday night. So just want to give everyone, again, appreciation for being part of this conversation. I know that not everyone has sent answers to me and also to each other. It's been mostly those who have only sent it to me. But I hope everyone is taking a moment to look at the videos, maybe have a chance to do the exercises, even write something for yourself, and you still can. As we come to the last theme of our work here together, and that theme is the Book of Life. Right, so we have had the opportunity to explore some of the symbols and some of the rituals, the shofar, and the apples and honey, and the act of being in touch with our heart for the vidui, and now we come to the one that is at the very center of the liturgy of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, being written in the Book of Life, the Sefer Chaim, that we sing over and over again. May we be written and remembered for a new and prosperous year. And we'll actually continue to say some of those special prayers over the course not only of Rosh Hashanah, but all the way through the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So we're going to look and see what that's all about. Of course, the Book of Life as an image, like many of these images, allows us to come into contact with, some of the most visceral ideas that we have of God as a judge. There can be nothing more final than having our name written down in a book. It's something that for generations was what was hanging over people in their moments of prayer in the high holy days, that they would have to pray, or that they would have to just simply trust that they would be written in the Book of Life for another year of life. And it comes from a section of the Talmud that says that God has three books open: a book directly for life, the other option, and then those whose lives hang in the balance depending on how the year goes. So right away, what are we going to do with that language? It's not something that I think for most of us translates into a vision of what God could look like and what God's hands and book would be for us. So we have to understand in a certain way what this topic is. So one of the ways in which we use this language is Zochrenu l'chaim melechafetz b'chaim v'chotvenu b'sefer ha'chaim lemancha Elohim chaim. Remember us for life, though sovereign who desires life, and write us in the book of life for the sake of you, who are the God of life. What we learn there is that this is not just a random relationship with the book of life or with a book that would prevent us from having another year. God's self is biased towards life. Remember us to life because you're the one who wants life. You're the one who wants us to live. You're giving us every opportunity because you are the God of life. You do not seek destruction. You do not seek punishment. And even that may not be enough for us, because it does imply the idea that it's God who brings our punishment and God who brings our reward. And at least for me, I'll speak personally, that's something that doesn't sit with me as something that animates my sense of what the world is about. There's too much that happens in the world that cannot be explained by being deserving of someone's actions. And this is something that, if we don't know it from our own lives and other people in our lives, we just have to think of history. At some point, I believe that any person who loves God and loves being in a world connected to God cannot look and see what happened in the last century, especially the Holocaust, and say, this is something that was written because of people's actions. So we have to look and find a different way. And the exercise that we're going to look at, and I'll put below, is the idea, and it's not made up. Well, everything is made up in some way, but it's not a modern addition. It's in the prayer itself that we say at the centerpiece of the High Holy Day prayer, which is Berosh Hashanah Yikatevu Uvyom Tzom Kippur Yechatemu. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on the day of the fast of atonement it is sealed, and it says, V'chotam yad kol adam bo. Every person's own handwriting, their own personal signature, is in the book. In other words, this is a book of our life, the book that is the book we write into our own life. Even as we say these words, Rosh Hashanah Yikatevun, Yom Tzom Kippur Yechatemun, even as we say these words that we stand in judgment, we are, in a very deep way, not abdicating that judgment to God, not saying that each of us can just, do our best on this day and then the rest of the year is written, but that each of us signs the book with our own hand. We're going to think in a moment about what it means to sign the book in our own hand. Before I just say that, a final Shana Tova Umetuka, a sweet and happy new year. I just, again, not only want to thank everyone for being part of it, but invite you to go back and look as we write this book. What can we draw from these different weeks of Elul? And in a moment, I also want to encourage you to listen to the other video that's here of a song called Unwritten. And you may be familiar with it or you may not. It was a reasonably popular song, but not, a major hit, Natasha Bedingfield. But Unwritten is really the idea. We stand at the blank page before us, open up the dirty window, so on and so forth, but the book lies before us unwritten. Our lives are not perfect, because if they were, what would be there to write about? But it's in our hands. Chotam yad kol adam bo. Each person's signature is in our hands to sign this book which is to life, for life, the God of life who wants life. Shana Tova.